She had been secretly cheating with my husband for years and had the audacity to plan kicking me out of my own house. Her confidence was through the roof, but I knew one sentence that would shatter it completely and send it crashing to the ground. My name is Amara, and until last week, I believed my life was pretty perfect. It wasn't flawless or completely problem-free, but it was good enough to me. Good enough is perfect because, as you'll see, things can take a turn for the worse very quickly. The one who hurt me most is my husband, Alex. We've been married for 2 years, and before all this, I was happy with him. We rarely fought. He was a great boyfriend and an even better husband, which made me think we'd be together until one of us passed away. But it turns out I was the only one who believed we were meant to be together. Alex clearly feels entitled to see other people. I don't mean that literally, I mean he's been hiding his actions, and I only discovered the truth by accident. Believe me, I love him, and I never gave him any reason to stray. I thought we were both happy, and with both of us earning well, money wasn't an issue. Now I'm left wondering, is he seeking excitement elsewhere, or is he truly bored with me? Only he can answer that. Before I go any further, I need to tell you about someone key to the story, Cassie. Cassie is a friend from my childhood whom I've known forever, and sometimes we still hang out. But it isn't entirely my choice. I really don't like her much. She's one of the most jealous and petty people I know. Ever since I learned the difference between true friends and toxic ones, I knew I didn't need her close by, so I always kept my distance, even though she kept trying to get closer. Cassie was constantly envious, even of me. She always wanted what I had and couldn't stand seeing me do better. She never managed to hide her true feelings and would get angry when I asked her to stop. Now, you might wonder, if she's been such a problem, why is she still in my life? The answer is simple. Her parents have been friends with mine for years, so she's almost like family. I couldn't cut her off because she was always present at gatherings and family events, and I couldn't even tell my parents how I truly felt about her. Even though I felt she acted like she cared sometimes, our relationship was never a genuine friendship. I've never been the type to have many close friends, and since she's tied to my family, she's stuck around. At this point, I only have about 3 true friends. One of them is my best friend Molly, whom I'll mention later. Cassie remains the same way now, and I try to avoid her as much as I can, even though, being almost family, that's nearly impossible. Our relationship is just tolerable, and I'm pretty sure she's always been a bit jealous of me, since I seem to have achieved bigger things in life. To be honest, I have a better job and married a man I thought was amazing, while she's stuck in a small job and keeps jumping from one relationship to another. If you knew her, you'd understand why she hated seeing me succeed. I never imagined she'd become so envious that she'd try to ruin my marriage or even take my place. By now, you probably have an idea of what's happening. I found out that my husband has been cheating on me with Cassie, the very person I despise most. He chose the worst possible partner for this betrayal, and now he's tearing our marriage apart. I still don't know what either of them hopes to gain. Let me explain how I discovered it. Over the past few months, I noticed Alex becoming somewhat distant. When I asked him about it, he insisted nothing was wrong and that he was just stressed at work, pulling extra hours sometimes. At first, I was a bit worried, but nothing else seemed off. Then, a week ago, a friend called to tell me that instead of being at work, my husband was seen in a restaurant nearly an hour away from my office. My friend, thinking I was with him and hoping to meet up, had no idea what she had just uncovered. I called Alex, and he claimed he was at work, which only made me more suspicious. I left early from work and drove to the restaurant, where I saw him on a date with Cassie. It was obvious. It wasn't a friendly encounter. They looked too comfortable together. I couldn't catch what they were saying, but I snapped a photo. I thought about confronting them, but I was so shocked I couldn't. I just drove home, completely numb. Later, Alex called, saying he'd be working late, and when I contacted his coworker, I learned he hadn't been at work at all that day. Instead, he had called in sick. I was never the suspicious type, and I trusted him completely. That trust let him betray me with the one person I despised most. The most unbelievable part is that he knew how much I disliked her. He always told me I was being too harsh in judging her. I used to think that was a kind quality, but apparently, he always had a soft spot for her. After witnessing that date, I refused to believe what I saw. I tried to come up with excuses in my head because I wasn't ready to face the truth that my marriage was over. Deep down, I knew it, but I wasn't prepared to admit it. I spent the next few days observing him, hoping for some explanation, but all I found was undeniable proof of an affair. I was devastated. I couldn't confront him, and I couldn't even face Cassie. All I could think about was how they could do this to me and discard everything we had built together. It wasn't as if I'd just met Alex. We had built a life over the years. How could he do this? Finally, I called my best friend Molly and told her everything. Molly came over and decided to help me, offering some ideas that were surprisingly good. More than anything, I was just grateful for her support. I was ready to confront my husband and put an end to everything. Molly trailed him for 2 days, and yesterday she reported seeing him enter a hotel. That confirmed the affair. Cassie was so envious of me that she even managed to steal him away. I can't entirely fault her. If Alex hadn't been tempted to cheat, she wouldn't have had the chance. If he were truly loyal, he'd have stayed faithful no matter what. While I was figuring out my next move, Molly suggested a plan. Since we didn't have all the facts about the affair, we should gather evidence. She proposed installing hidden cameras and audio recorders to uncover what they were really after and to help me decide my next step. It was a smart idea because we both suspected Cassie or Alex might have ulterior motives beyond just a fling. Even though it meant enduring Alex and Cassie a bit longer, I agreed. At this point, I craved revenge for what they had done. Today, we set up the hidden devices, and hopefully by next week we'll have plenty of evidence. Even after agreeing to the plan, I couldn't accept that my husband was cheating on me with someone like Cassie. I still don't understand why he did it, or if I'm making the right choice by following this path. Should I confront them head-on once I've gathered enough proof? I'm begging for your guidance. I need to know if I'm making the right decision. Update 1. It's been over a week since my last update, and I was wrong to doubt myself. Molly was right, and I'm so grateful I decided to collect evidence first. I thought things couldn't get any worse after what Alex did, but what I heard a few hours ago proved me wrong. I can't believe I married someone like him. I mentioned before that I set up cameras and recorders, and only today did I review the footage. All week, I did my best to act normally, even though it was impossible when I felt so shattered. Molly was an amazing support when I couldn't pretend to be okay. Alex acted like nothing was wrong, but my love for him didn't simply vanish overnight. It was agonizing watching him leave for work, knowing he was going to see her and sleep with her constantly. I barely managed to hold back the urge to slap him for his betrayal. 2 days ago was even harder when I had to see both of them together. My parents were celebrating their anniversary and had invited Cassie and her parents. As soon as we arrived, Cassie jumped up to hug us. Both. I couldn't ignore the way she and Alex exchanged looks. I berated myself for not noticing sooner. When I finally talked to Cassie, it took every bit of strength not to grab her and yell about how she ruined my life by sleeping with my husband. I held back and made it through the evening. Cassie showed no remorse, not even a hint of guilt when she discussed Alex, joking about how attractive she found him. Everyone else thought it was a compliment, but I knew the truth. Somehow, I survived the party, though it was the worst night of my life. Every second dragged by, and I couldn't wait to leave. Afterward, I counted the days until I could listen to what was happening in my own home. When that moment came, I almost regretted it. Part of me wished I had kicked Alex out immediately because what I discovered only made things worse. I couldn't listen to it on my own, so I invited Molly over for support. We listened to various segments, and what we uncovered left me speechless. The affair had been going on for nearly a year, and it was serious. Yes, my husband was deeply involved with my envious friend Cassie, and he was planning to leave me for her. Even though Cassie claimed she wanted the same thing, Molly suspected that Cassie was just using him to ruin my life. It was unbelievable. Then we uncovered something even more shocking. Not only was Alex cheating and planning to run away with Cassie, but he also planned to take something from me first, the house. The reason he hadn't ended things yet was because he wanted to claim the house as his own. The house was a gift from my grandmother before she passed away, and I had moved in after getting married. It's a large house that would sell for a good price. His plan was to trick me into giving him the house, sell it, and then start a new life with Cassie. I could hardly believe it. Not only was he leaving me heartbroken, but he was also deceiving me into handing over something precious, something that belonged to my family, all to fund his new life with her. That confirmed to me that the man I fell in love with was gone. The Alex I married had disappeared a long time ago. I was in tears when I found out, and while Molly helped me calm down, my sadness quickly turned to rage. Did they really think they could treat me like a fool? I decided I wouldn't confront Alex immediately. Instead, I was going to give him a taste of his own medicine. Now, I have no doubt about what I must do. I need revenge on both of them for what they've done to me. They're going to regret ever messing with me. Update 2. It's me again, and it's been a while since my last update. So much has happened. Alex has fallen into the trap, and now I'm just waiting for his next move. I suspect it will happen in a few days. When it does, he'll realize he made the biggest mistake of his life by cheating on me. And don't worry, Cassie isn't getting away with it either. She's going to face the consequences too. About a month ago, Alex brought up the house. When he did, I played the part of being genuinely surprised. I made sure he never guessed that I already knew his plan. I let him believe that everything was normal. At that point, all I wanted was for him to feel the same pain I was feeling. So, when he finally asked the question I had been waiting for, I managed to feign genuine surprise. I asked him why he wanted me to sign the papers to give him the house. After all, didn't he already own a part of it? He reassured me that there was no issue about that, but he insisted he wanted to be the sole owner. He said he had always dreamed of owning a home after we married, and while he appreciated my grandmother's gift, he wanted a house that was truly his, even if just for a few months, to fulfill his dream. He gave his best argument, insisting that all he really wanted was to say, "I own the house I live in." Honestly, if I hadn't known what he was plotting, I might have agreed on the spot. But to keep up my act, I told him I needed time to think. He knows I never act on impulse, so he agreed to wait. After a day, I told him that I was only delaying for fun, that I really didn't care since we were supposed to be together forever. I told him I trusted him completely. That was the first time I saw a flicker of guilt on his face, but he quickly recovered and promised he'd never leave me. I had even prepared some fake documents that looked real enough for him to believe. I was terrified when he started reading them, but in the end, he said he trusted me and signed them without a second thought, convinced he was now the owner of our house. That was yesterday, and guess what I did today? I'm pretty sure that in a few days, Alex will either try to kick me out or finally confess the truth, so I wanted to make sure everything was in place. By everything, I mean that I ensured everyone else knew what was going on. This morning, I met privately with my parents, my in-laws, and Cassie's parents. I didn't tell anyone else, but I laid out the whole truth and showed them all the evidence I'd collected from my home. They were as shocked as I was. At first, they had trouble believing it, but once they did, they were furious and wanted to confront Alex and Cassie immediately. I asked them to hold off, though I want Alex and Cassie to believe they've won, so I can take it all the way and make them feel every bit of the pain I felt. I begged everyone to wait until Alex made his move, which I believe will be soon. If everything goes as planned, it'll be sweet revenge. Update 3. I know it's been a few months, and I apologize for the delay. I'll get straight to what happened with Alex and Cassie. 2 days after my last update, Cassie showed up at my house with a bunch of her belongings. I asked her what was going on, and she calmly replied that she was moving in. I acted confused, but she just laughed and told me that the house was no longer mine, that she was now the permanent resident. I told her to stop messing around, and she had the nerve to insist that I call Alex. Before I could, Alex came home after running errands and looked surprised to see Cassie there. I don't think this was part of their original plan, but since the secret was out, Alex told me he was kicking me out and that Cassie was moving in. He put on a sad act, explaining that he was leaving me for her. I couldn't help but laugh in his face. I told him to stop pretending because I'd known all along what was really happening. He was a fool for trusting me, just as I was foolish for believing in him. Without wasting time, I called everyone, my parents, my in-laws, and within minutes, Cassie's parents were at the house. Alex and Cassie were stunned to see us and even more shocked when they learned that everyone already knew about their little scheme. My father-in-law immediately slapped Alex across the face, saying he wasn't the son who raised him, and Cassie's mother did the same, questioning how she could betray someone who was like a sister to her. Cassie grew defensive, insisting that she and Alex were going to live together and that nothing could stop them. That's when I dropped the bombshell. I laughed and told her that the house was still mine. I had never given it to Alex. The color drained from her face as Alex suddenly realized I'd tricked him. He started begging for forgiveness, but I slapped him and kicked him out. Cassie left on her own, realizing she might face the same fate. It felt so satisfying to give them a taste of their own medicine. Lies and betrayal have consequences. Some people might say I should have just confronted them instead of exacting revenge, but now I not only have my revenge, I also have proof of their infidelity. That means Alex will get nothing in the divorce, and neither will Cassie. Update 4. It's been months since I last updated you on my revenge against my ex-husband and ex-friend, and let me tell you, everything is over for them. It was like a series of unfortunate events. Alex was kicked out of his parents' house after living there for a few weeks, and they disinherited him. They had accepted him as their son at first, but when they saw he was still with Cassie despite everything, his parents took extreme measures. As for me, I divorced him, and he ended up with nothing. It's refreshing to live in a state where cheaters pay. Well, where their spouses don't have to pay. When he realized he wasn't getting anything, he came back several times begging for help. He claimed he'd left Cassie, but I told him I didn't care anymore and that I'd call the police if he showed up again. Meanwhile, Cassie lost her job. She worked for her uncle, and when he discovered what she had done, he fired her. Her parents also disowned her, and when she kept pleading for their support, they said they would only forgive her if I did. She never came to apologize to me, and honestly, I don't need her apology. Knowing her life is a mess now is enough. They should have thought about what they were doing when plotting behind my back. They only came running for help when everything collapsed. Now, I want to address a comment I received that really irritated me because of how absurd it was. The comment said, "I think you went too far with this. Yes, your husband and the jealous friend deserved what happened to them, but you shouldn't have stooped to their level. You should have been the bigger person and let them live happily ever after. I'm not saying you should have given them the house, but you could have just kicked him out and divorced him, so he could have started over with her, if the jealous friend really loved him, which I doubt. By doing what you did, you lowered yourself to their level. Does that make you any better or worse than them?" It's an interesting point, and some agreed with it, but most people said I didn't stoop to their level at all. None of this would have happened if Alex hadn't been a cheater trying to trick me into giving him the house. I only reacted to what they did to me. I wasn't the one who started this mess. So, Do you think this makes me the same as them or not? Update 5. I'm glad many people enjoyed hearing about my revenge. There are clearly lots of folks out there who like seeing betrayers get what they deserve. But this update isn't just about revenge, it's about something Molly told me recently. And, as you might expect, Cassie is far from giving up. Her obsession with ruining everything I touch is still alive and well. Now, she's tried something new, something I never imagined she'd do, and that is attempting to steal Molly from me. Let me explain how it all started. A few days ago, Molly and Cassie ran into each other at the mall. Right after it happened, Molly called me because what unfolded was surreal. Picture this. Molly was calmly shopping when Cassie, my ex-friend, the traitor who betrayed me with Alex, waltzed up and started a casual conversation as if nothing had happened. I guess Cassie assumed Molly would be open to a chat, but she clearly didn't understand who she was dealing with. Cassie began by saying her relationship with Alex was over and that she'd been feeling lonely lately. She mentioned that shopping was her way of cheering up, as if retail therapy could undo the disaster she'd created. Cassie even added that her parents had cut her off, choosing family loyalty over her. Molly wasn't fooled by Cassie's victim act. She shot back without hesitation. Maybe they did that because what you did isn't something a good person would do, let alone someone you'd want in your family. Naturally, Cassie didn't take that well. True to form, she tried to justify herself, saying her parents didn't reject her because of her actions, but because they valued other people's friendships over their own daughter. Even after everything she's done, Cassie still insists she's the victim. According to her, her parents don't care about her now, and she's learning to live with that. After dropping that bomb, Cassie shifted her attack to me. Of course, it wouldn't be a Cassie conversation if she didn't try to pin something on me. She told Molly that I'd been a bad friend because I couldn't handle Alex choosing her over me. Imagine Molly's face when she heard that. Then, Cassie claimed that I'd always been overly competitive and that everything happened because I was jealous that my ex-husband found a better woman in her. But Molly, being the queen that she is, didn't hesitate to put her in her place. She immediately responded that it was impossible for me to be jealous of Cassie for stealing Alex, because honestly, there's nothing good about having him as a partner. He became nothing but a burden, and she did me a favor by taking him off my hands. That's when things got interesting. Suddenly, Cassie softened her tone and admitted that Alex wasn't worth it. But Molly wasn't fooled by her game. She told me that everything Cassie was saying was pure convenience now that Alex had nothing left. No house, no money, no husband. The only thing left for her to try to take was Molly. But we all know that's not happening. In a desperate bid for some connection, Cassie invited Molly out for drinks, pretending they were old friends. Molly didn't take the bait for even a second. Instead, she fired back with something that fills me with pride. I can't betray someone loyal to me for someone who enjoys stabbing others in the back. Cassie, caught off guard, got defensive. In a weak attempt to intimidate Molly, she warned, "Watch out, other girls' boyfriends tend to like me." What Cassie didn't know was that Molly isn't intimidated by high school level threats. Molly responded firmly, "You won't be around to try, because you're not part of my life, and if you do, I guarantee my fist will be close to your face." Cassie walked away looking shaken, and I couldn't be prouder to have someone like Molly by my side. She not only stood up for me, but also gave Cassie a dose of reality she won't forget anytime soon. If Cassie thought she could waltz back into my life and take something else, she's very mistaken. Molly is with me, and unlike Cassie, she understands what it means to be a true friend. After that explosive confrontation at the mall, things began to shift in ways I hadn't imagined. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life from scratch. I started spending more time with those who truly cared about me, like Molly and my family, and less time mulling over the betrayal that had once consumed my every thought. I began attending support groups and even started volunteering, turning my pain into purpose. Cassie, on the other hand, seemed to crumble under the weight of her own deceit. Rumors spread that she'd lost more than just her job, her reputation was in tatters, and even her closest family began to question her choices. Alex, who had once tried to manipulate me with his lies, disappeared from our lives entirely. With every passing day, the consequences of their actions became clearer. While they lost everything, I was slowly gaining back control over my future. One evening, as I sat in my quiet living room, I realized that all the chaos had given way to a deep, serene clarity. The evidence of their betrayal, once a symbol of their treachery, had become a tool for justice. In the divorce proceedings, every detail was laid bare, ensuring that they faced the full extent of their actions. I walked away not only with my dignity intact, but also with the satisfaction of knowing that honesty and loyalty were values I would never compromise. As the final court verdict was delivered, it was clear that this chapter was truly over. The resolution wasn't just about retribution, it was about reclaiming my life. I learned that true strength comes from forgiveness, not for the sake of the betrayers, but for the freedom it grants to the betrayed. In the end, I realized that while I couldn't change the past, I could shape a future built on trust, respect, and self-worth. And so, with a heart that had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, I stepped into a new chapter. One where friendships were genuine, relationships were honest, and every setback was simply a stepping stone to a better tomorrow.